connect with our community more. Connect with our community more, and we really knew a lot of our neighbours, and we felt that our neighbours would also appreciate some kind of local gardening project, especially aimed at children. And yeah, this is like the picture on the left is from, we had like a celebration session once where a lot of the kids who'd been continuously coming, I was able to give them certificates and sort of like little gift vouchers and things. And for that, I think, first of all, okay, sorry, right. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of an idea of what did I undertake and why I undertook it. I think the main reason for me was just learning more about gardening myself, and learning more about my neighbours really gave me an idea that this is something that is really needed, and definitely would not have been able to do this without the help and support from, first of all, I got a £500 grant from Royal Botanic Garden Kew's funding that they have every summer for young people between the ages of 14 to 25. I was 16 when this started, so I was eligible to apply for that, and I really encourage anyone who can to apply for I think they're called, yeah, Royal Botanic Garden Kew's summer funding, and they give you quite a lot of money for raising the profile of British wildflowers and British gardening, and yeah, so that was really helpful. And something else that was really helpful was the support of my parents. I wouldn't have been able to do it without the fact that the park is so close to my house, where we had these gardening sessions every week in the summer. My parents would help me bring like a table to the park, and then at that table we'd like that's where people would put in the pots, put soil in the pots, and that's where all the painting and sort of like leaf art that we also did happened. Yeah, and so there were a lot of challenges. For example, I think that a lot of people, when they want to start community projects, and they're worried about like as I was, I was worried about people who might not come and things. And how I overcame that was actually to just join other groups that were already in the area. So we had it was like in August before things, it was in one of the months before Newtown Nature Club took place. There was a litter pick, a group litter pick in my area, in that garden, and from there I knew that people had they had a desire to sort of like take part in taking care of nature and taking care of the environment, because it was a litter pick. And I made so many friends from that area who then I asked, would they be interested in in doing a gardening club and helping me run a gardening project for kids. And they were so helpful, and they were like, yeah. And some of them couldn't make it on the actual days, but I think the more people you know in your area, the more sort of like networking you can do, the better, really. And another challenge was sometimes it rained, and the weather's great, sometimes things like that. And how I overcame that was again, a friend that I'd made through the litter club, the litter picking. She knew she had a key to get into the sort of a community space for older people in the area, but she had the keys to get into it, so we all just managed to just set up in there. And also another sort of unique challenge is that I was worried that it would just start off with some people, and then either they drop out or it would just stay with the same people. But how I overcame that is because it was in a park, I kind of forced my little brother a little bit, because he's younger than me, and I got him to get him and his friends to be as part of the group. And then when other kids saw him and his friends in the park taking part in the gardening project and doing gardening with some pots, they also wanted to join, and it sort of became this really organic sense of community building. yeah, and so since then, every summer we try to sort of keep in touch and keep doing sort of gardening in our area. And I think the next thing that we're really there's been some talk of planting trees. But you know, with the council, I think it's kind of hard, but that is something that's being talked about. And the last time there was a COP 26, 27, we ran a little drawing challenge for kids, and there was some really nice art that came out of that. So yeah. Oh, sorry, do you mind repeating the name of the funding department that you got the £500 from? The department was called Royal Botanic Gardens Kew. That's who they are, and their funding I think it's called Summer Youth or Grow Wild, maybe.
We've got the link on the case study.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Sophie's on it.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, and all the successes, but also the challenges as well. It's really important to hear like a good rounded story as to how that's happened. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's really inspiring. And yeah, as mentioned, we've got all the relevant links, and any extra questions that come in, we can add that. So that's fine. Brilliant. And I would also like to introduce our next speaker. We've got Grenville Johnson, who's got the most amazing garden, and he's also done lots of things for wildlife and people in his street and the community, but he'll be sharing some of his experience with us today. So if I just share my screen now as well. Oops.
If you've got any questions for Hemlata about starting a community group or joining a group, then please pop them in the chat, and then we can make sure we come to them afterwards.
Okay, if you can see that. Okay, Grenville, if you want to unmute yourself, I'll be able to move the screens along for you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Great. Okay, well, hey everyone, and my name is Grenville Johnson. I've made notes here, so if I appear to be looking down, it's because I need to refer to my notes. It's a real honour and a pleasure to talk this evening and be invited to talk to Avon Wildlife Trust. I've lived in the St George area all my life. I also live in a family home that's remained in my family for 20 years, so that's quite unique. House still has its internal late Victorian features and a very, very tiny rear garden, which we've changed dramatically. It's located at the end of a terrace of houses, and we're fortunate to have a rear side garden door from the street, so that really helps. In 2004, after a 30-year successful career in primary education as a head teacher of 2 schools and as an advisory head, I decided to retire. I felt really lost at that time after my long and really hectic career, and decided that, well, so I decided to enhance my own rear garden. I knew the house and garden since my childhood. So it's been a fabulous journey. The garden is extremely small, as I've mentioned. We've been together for 50 years now. We decided to demolish one of the outer rooms in the garden, and we used all the building rubble and remains as a foundation to build an upper raised garden, steps that led down to a lower garden area. At that time, and we still plant the whole garden entirely in pots and containers to assist our style and layout. The upper garden is incredibly bright and sunny, the lower garden is in shade, and this is a shot of the lower garden area. So there were really exciting opportunities for deciding the layout and plant choice. I happen to call it painting with plants. I love, because I'm art trained, I love combining colours of plants and textures, colour, pattern, texture and form. We like to rearrange and juxtapose and rearrange the pots so that there are some really lovely, in the summer in particular, some lovely exciting colour combinations along with texture and pattern of the leaves. I feel very passionately as well that gardens help with our relaxation, our mental health, and our overall well-being. Any form of horticulture can do that. They can become havens of calm that really take you from the here and now. And I'm now on to page 2. So several years ago, I received really major surgery. And on my return home from hospital, the first thing I did was to sit in the garden. The beautiful sunny May day, the bees were buzzing, the insects were hovering, it was fantastic. And I really feel very strongly that the garden helped my recovery. And I now spend any days in the garden. On frosty, freezing cold days when there's snow, I go out there and see the seasonal changes. We decided that we would incorporate in extremely large terracotta containers in the upper sunny area to provide the colour, cater for the needs of bees and other pollinating insects. Importantly, we always use peat-free compost, and we don't use any pesticides whatsoever or chemical sprays in the garden. We strictly adhere to those principles because I feel that the balance of nature is fabulous at providing a good harmony and balance. Around 5 years ago, we worked closely with a specialist company that designed constructs Gothic folly ruins. And within a short time, the folly was built. This upper area of the garden creates a magical haven where we sit, relax, have outdoor meals, and entertain with our friends and neighbours. Within a very short time of redesign, it was buzzing with bees and other pollinating insects and butterflies. The lower garden, as I've mentioned, is very shady, so we utilise shade-loving plants and ferns. And during the summer months, it really is alive with ferns. There's the Acer there, which you can see, which was a tiny baby only about 6-7 years ago, and it's now enormous. The lower garden, shady, and we installed bird nesting boxes in that part, and bug hotels, and we cater for nesting birds, tits, robins, all nesting in those beautiful bird boxes. And we film them as well. It's been really fascinating to watch the birds raising their chicks in the nesting boxes every spring. And only last week, great again. So we hope they'll come back. So made video films of the nesting birds and the chick raising activities. So that's been a lovely privilege as well. The large Acer that I've previously mentioned provides shade to the garden, and it caters for birds and other insects. Bird feeders and a large, very ornate bird feeding table you can just about catch on the right-hand side there. We put in lots of a variety of seeds, mealworms, nuts to support the birds. Blue tits and great tits, robins and blackbirds and urban pigeons even, they all come into the street and the garden and they love it. We also installed the stumpery. It's quite an unusual name. It's based on the Victorian convention of planting hollow tree stumps with ferns, hostas and other shade-loving plants. We were inspired greatly by the wonderful stumpery at King Charles's garden at Highgrove Peppery. Chance, if you haven't seen it, do go and have a look. It's the most amazing garden. The other element in the garden that we and that helps to cater for other forms of aquatic wildlife. It's an essential element, irrespective of the size of the garden. We've installed recently a very large pond with aquatic pond plants and a stone cascading water feature in the garden as well. And this provides a really essential element within the garden, and that's sound. The pond is home to a collection of very fish and koi carp, and they're really enormous at the moment. In 2005, decided to establish St George in Bloom, which has a comprehensive website and photos, so Sophie can to you. Go on to St George in Bloom or Google it, because hopefully it will show how we've developed over the years and expanded out from the garden to the street and beyond St George. We, as volunteers, have enhanced many areas, and the voluntary group has won really top gold awards from the Royal Horticultural Society, and they can be found on the website. On my retirement in 2004, I established a resident group in Kingston Road here in St George. I led a campaign to reinstate and replace the original London plane trees, and they were first planted around 1897 when the houses were first built. Chose rowan trees as replacements because they're more in scale with the houses, and some of the trees from their berries. In the autumn, some of the trees are covered, absolutely covered in berries, which is amazing. Street trees also help to cool the urban street environment, landscape, as well as providing spaces for birds to nest or simply take a little rest. Many of the original London plane trees have been previously removed by Bristol City Council as they become highly invasive or they die. With the support of a local and the new 14 street trees were installed. We established a street bank account to enhance the small front gardens through neighbours planting window boxes, hanging baskets or planted containers. As you can see, at the front of our house, we've put in on the railings there a very long rectangular L-shaped planter, which we made from wood, but and that has lots of seasonal interest. But neighbours have the kitty, which we've still got, so if they need some support and help, they can dip into the funds. Several years ago, our street, Kensington Road in St George in Bristol, was featured at the RHS Hampton Court Flower Show at the launch of the RHS Greening Great Britain campaign. The RHS cleverly included the street with no community pride, nature. It was grey, deprived and deserted. And we had abandoned cars in the street that were rusting away. They were taken away by the police eventually. So I insisted that we had that was led to this beautiful green area. The RHS show garden, all the house front, and they incorporated and designed wheel bike stores and wheelie bin stores with green roofs. And you can see a photo of them there. And we've got a wheelie bin store at the front of our house as well, along with my neighbour. A wildflower area was included together with a planted area to help remove urban pollution and car emissions. Thermal imaging cameras were installed under the trees at the show garden to show how street trees can help to cool the urban environment. During that time, I was incredibly fortunate to accompany the Duchess of Cornwall, now the Queen Consort, on her tour to the show garden, Hampton Court Palace Flower Show. City Garden has been featured on national television and in several books and gardening magazines. These include the book Green Gardens of England, published by Merrill, and also within the book First Time Gardener by a co-presenter on BBC Gardener's World, and Francis and I have become great friends since then. It was chosen by Alan Gardens, and the garden was also featured on BBC Gardener's World. Late in 2022, Avon Wildlife Trust kindly and very generously wrote an inspiring case study about our work and our garden and the local community work. Later this summer in 2020, exciting to open the doors of our garden and raise some additional funds for Avon Wildlife Trust. The details of the open for the garden are already posted. I posted them up today on the St George and Bloom website, and since my retirement in 2004, I've followed a unique and magical journey via my local community work. We've enhanced the local park, enhanced other important horticultural areas within the St George area of the city. So I sincerely hope that more people join this wonderful learning journey. I also hope that more residents, particularly in urban city areas, will help to enhance their streets and their front and rear gardens. Even if residents don't have a garden and simply have a balcony, a few carefully planted pots or containers can really help to make such a difference. I feel we all need to work together, support each other, and share each other in order to improve our gardens, our streets, our parks, and our shared community spaces. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation, and thank you very much indeed to Avon Wildlife Trust. Thank you.
Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Grenville. Really, really inspiring. Yeah, just to reiterate as well, we've got the case study on here. I can post the link and it will be in the follow-up email as well, where it's got lots of detail about what Grenville's done, and also some resources on how to do that. So there's extra sections about what he's done for his front garden, how he formed the group with the neighbours, and lots of his amazing tips. Same for Hemlarta's. There's all the links for the funding opportunities and the amazing advice that she just shared. So thank you both so much for sharing your experiences, your challenges, and your successes. It's been really lovely to hear. And this is what Team Wilder is all about. It's all about sharing these stories and these experiences and linking it through to the resources. Basically, yeah, we want to include relevant links, resources, and as many real pictures as we can. So just to make it a bit more realistic for everyone to do. Team Wilder, we also have a community map. So we'll share this link as well. The community map highlights what projects and groups are available in the areas within Avon. So you can click on there and see what's in your local area. Alternatively, if you have a group or project that you'd like to highlight to Avon Wildlife Trust volunteers, to our followers, please add it to that map. We're growing that all the time. We want to increase links to help share knowledge, just as we're doing today now. All of these stories as well help us to create the resources. There's lots of different resources on there worth checking out. Too many to mention right now, but there's things like how to create a group or expand an existing group to reach more people. There's advice on how to take over local green spaces. things like explaining local authorities, explaining like how to get a bank account for groups, lots of really useful advice. A really popular page that we have is the funding advice. So we're sharing lots of experience from Avon Wildlife Trust, but also local communities as well. And we're also combining all of our knowledge to add to a page called Find a Funder. So this has live opportunities on there. We're adding to it, we're amending all of these resources all the time, especially this Find a Funder page. And we've also got Pete from the West of England Combined Authority that's going to just chat to us for 5 minutes or so about a really, really exciting opportunity that's coming up this week soon. Over to you, Pete.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yeah.
Good. So I'm not quite sure how I follow both of those presentations. I mean, how inspiring are both of those? So I'll do my best, but we're obviously coming at this from quite a different angle. So yeah, my name is Pete. I work on the Community Pollinator Fund at the West of England Combined Authority. And we want to talk to you about a new funding opportunity for nature projects across the region. So the Community Pollinator Fund, we're running round 2 of funding. We ran round 1 last year, opening grants to community groups. So what are we offering? So we've got grants between £1,000 and £100,000, so quite a range of grants there. It's called the Community Pollinator Fund for a reason. So obviously the focus is on pollinators. We're looking to reverse the decline in pollinators across the region and across the country. I think it's something like 35 species of bee are under threat from extinction, which is just crazy. And obviously outside of that, you've got butterflies and hoverflies and all sorts. So we're trying to reverse that trend. That's what we're trying to do. The grants come in 3 categories. So we have small grants, which is 1,000 to 10,000. Medium grants, which is 10,000 to 50,000, and large grants, which is 50,000 to 100,000. Now, don't worry if you don't search all of this stuff up, it'll all be on the website, so all the details will be there. The types of groups that can apply, so it's open to community groups, voluntary groups, non-profits, parish councils, town councils, schools and other education organisations. Essentially, it's not open to individuals or private businesses. The focus is on communities taking action and building on action that people are already doing. Again, you can find a full list of the organisations that we're looking to fund on the website. I'll make sure to put the link down in the chat later. As it's the West of England Combined Authority, it is open to organisations within Bristol, Baines and South Gloucestershire. Unfortunately not North Somerset, although they're part of the West of England region, they're not part of the Combined Authority, so it's just those 3. So how do you get involved? So yes, I think I don't know if that's you, Sophie. I think someone's kindly put the link already into the chat. So if you can't find the link, also if you search Community Pollinator Fund, you'll find it. There's not another fund like this in the country at the moment. So you can go onto the website at the moment. You can register and you can get in touch with us, and you can tell us what types of things you're planning. We're not opening the fund until Wednesday, so I'm probably a little bit early to be on the call here, but yeah, so Wednesday is when it's going to open. So log on from Thursday or Friday, you can download everything you need, you can get in touch. I want to say a little bit about the kind of things that we're looking to fund. So we have things like wildflower meadows, bug hotels, community gardens, pollinator shelters, pollinator habitats, and also things like planting workshops, so kind of teaching and inspiring others to take action. But essentially all projects need to contribute to some kind of habitat creation. That's probably the most important thing. So yeah, like I said, it opens this week, opens on Wednesday, so log on towards the end of the week. There's lots of forms on the website that you can download. So there's quite a nice basic form for the small grants. There's a longer form for the bigger grants. But please, just if you've got any questions, just get in touch with us, ask us. We want to work with groups to help you make your project as best as it can be. So we're trying as hard as we can to engage, to kind of, work out what's best for the space, best for the group. But also what you can do, you can go onto the website. You can also look at projects that were funded in round 1. So there's a list of some 13 projects which we've already funded. And that gives you an idea of the kind of things that we're looking to fund. So that's sort of it from me. But yeah, please do get in touch. Please reach out to us, and we'd be delighted to speak to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. And thank you so much, Hemlata and Grenville, for those really inspiring talks. There's some great questions in the comments already. So the rest of the evening, the remaining 25 minutes is up to you guys. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask that you haven't already, please put them in the chat. And like we've mentioned already, this is open to everyone. So we'd really like it to be an open discussion. If there's any questions that you feel like you can share some knowledge or some tips, then please do. I know it's not as easy over Zoom, but please do just jump in. And yeah, there's a question for Grenville, which has kind of already been answered by Chris, so thank you, Chris. But Lucy Byrne was asking Grenville, where did you get the funding for your street budget and who manages this? And Chris kindly said that he manages the Street Party website, but Grenville, is that kind of the route that you took as well?
Very much similar, but we had a local pub which was converted into a store on Bell Hill Road, St George, and I approached them because they had a community grant and they gave us £500 as a starter. Eventually that rose to £5,000. I approached the local traders in Church Road when we decided to include a pollinator hub, as we call it, in the main park entrance. And I wrote a letter to all the traders, hand-delivered it, and said, could you something, even a few pounds? In 3 days, we had £2,500. The RHS also has grants as well, and they gave us quite a substantial grant of quite a few £1,000s, because I applied for their community scheme, and they gave us loads of money to help St George in Bloom work on the more community focus-based projects like the park and what we call the billboard site in Church Road, St George. So there are lots of opportunities. People also chip in from the street. You know, my partner and myself have put in money, the neighbours have put in money. We have a formal bank account. Another point that we want to raise is that we have a community-based agenda, what we aim to achieve. And so we have a constitution for our street and St George in Bloom as well. And those are formal documents. So it's very helpful. It helps certainly to have a constitution or a set of aims, particularly if you're wanting to open a bank account, you know. So got our own bank account for the street and for St George in Bloom. Okay. Hopefully that answers it.
Amazing, thank you. Someone else asked, what street are you on? And I think you said Bell Hill Road?
We're Kensington Road, on
Kensington.
Bell Hill, St George, off the A420. Is it because it's the only street around locally?
You're going to have hundreds of people at your house tomorrow. Amazing, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Hemlata, you've already kind of answered these questions in the chat, but just in case anyone hasn't checked the chat, is it okay if I just go over some of the questions that you've already been asked already, if that's okay? So one of the questions was, how did you encourage people to join the nature club when it first started, and what kind of activities were you doing with the kids that joined?
Yeah, just a lot of outreach, I guess, community outreach. I'd like to thank, I guess, Felix Road Adventure Playground. A lot of you might know it. I went there before I started the project just to sort of, I can't really think of a better word than to advertise, but you know what I mean, just like to tell more people that this is happening. And they're so lovely and they're still so supportive. They still run they're running a seed swap. If anyone is free on Saturday the 5th of March, definitely check out Felix Road Adventure Playground's seed swap that they're doing. It's a lovely like atmosphere too. And yeah, so just going to community places like that. I went to Junction 3 Library, I went to Felix Road Adventure Playground, I went to my community's 50th anniversary party, that we were having a street party. So I just like went to these spaces where people already have sort of like connections with each other, and like tried to make connections with that. And it's not hard, because you know, these are like the same people that are living in my community. It's, you know, it's so easy to relate to them, because you know, I also live there. And the more I heard about what they, you know, their parent, you know, these children and their parents are speaking to like families and what they wanted from a garden. A lot of people wanted an allotment. You know, obviously I can't really give them an allotment, but I can sort of, within the plans for a session of Newtown Nature Club, I made sure to put in herb seeds as like something that we'd be putting in pots, so that then the kids who don't have gardens were then able to take them home and then like watch the herbs grow. And I think herbs and poppies were what we put in pots a lot, and those grow really, really quickly. And I think children, I had a few parents sort of texting me with pictures of the kids and their plants, being like, you know, they didn't expect it to actually come up, you know, because I'm sure we've heard when people say, when you tell someone else that you like gardening, they always, you know, a lot of people just say, oh, my plants always die, they, you know, I kill my plants or something. And for these kids, like actually being able to being encouraged to look after a plant for that week that we hadn't had a session, you know, like the week gap between sessions, sessions was on Sunday afternoons, having that. And it's just so nice to have parents get in touch with me and tell me about, I recently got a message about someone who had started growing an orange tree from an orange they'd eaten, because, you know, they were just like, so they just like gardening so much. And it's just those little things that are really sweet and like just keep you going.
Yeah, that's so lovely, and it really echoes what Grenville said about the benefits for your mental health and your mindfulness when you get to see something growing and you feel that ownership over it. So yeah, I'm really glad that's a shared experience. That's really lovely. Someone else has been asking about your plans for this year. So again, you've kind of mentioned this already, but do you know much about whether the club will be running this year and what your hopes are?
Yeah, don't know about weekly sort of sessions. So full disclosure, in that summer, it was the summer after my GCSE, so I literally had nothing else to do. So I was very free. Now this summer my A-levels will have ended, and I think I don't, you know, a lot of things are pretty uncertain, but a lot of people in the sort of, the thing about Newtown Nature Club is because we all live there, I kind of see people anyway, and a lot of people have been wanting to plant trees, and that's something that I'm thinking of talking to the council about. You know, if anyone can, you know, would like to talk to me about that, I'd be really excited to. And if anyone like wants to take over, I think someone would mention like volunteers, that'd be really great too. And sometimes I do help out at Felix Road Adventure Playground, so if, you know, if you're looking to do that kind of gardening work in Eastern Lawrence Hill kind of area, I would point in that direction. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out on the Instagram page. We will update, and sometimes we do like little art projects where I just like post to people's houses, you know, just some pens and stuff. So yeah, just keep an eye out for updates.
Amazing, thank you so much. I'm actually going to go a bit left field, and Chris in the group, you posted a little comment about planning street parties and that you manage the street party site. So if you wouldn't mind, are you happy to just give us a little brief about the site and planning street parties for anyone that's involved? Thank you so much.
Gosh, I wasn't expecting this, particularly got a terrible cold.
Oh, bless you.
Anyway, I used to run a group called Streets Alive. Bristol is the street party capital of the UK, especially Eastern. And Bristol and Baines councils, I certainly know, make it quite easy for you. It's free, you don't need insurance. It's all about your neighbours. And you may want a road closure. Bristol again makes it easy. But if you read the website, there's a particular special Bristol page if you're Bristol based. Otherwise, it does apply. All the basic things are answered on that website. It does not have a contact on it because I've taken myself off at the moment because I'm not getting involved in the coronation. But I have posted in the chat, I posted my email address there, contact@streetparty.org.uk. If you've got any specific questions, please, the team there, please use that email address to contact me, because it's not on the website, because I don't want all the royalists in the country is contacting me about street parties. The basics is all there. If you're doing anything in your street, it is a really good starting point to meet them neighbours to get together. That's really the key point, if that's helpful to you. Is that enough?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate that. Was not unexpected, but I hope you feel better soon. I've just recovered from a cold myself. Thanks so much. We've got a bit more of an open question. So again, if anyone is happy to jump in, then please do. The question is, as a community group, we want to reach out to the younger demographic. Are there any programs within Avon Wildlife Trust or wider that we can use as a blueprint if we wanted to go into local schools? So is there anyone outside of the trust who has kind of a blueprint or has done work within schools before that's happy to kind of share their learning? Go on, Grenville, you had your hand up.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we used to garden with the local primary schools, and they actually made it really easy to join with the very young pupils there, 4 to 11 years old, and do some community gardening to enhance their school surroundings as well. So that was a really good learning opportunity. The Royal Horticultural Society has some really good links on its website as well on how to link with schools, because they've liaised obviously with educational institutions catering for all ages. So there are some useful links on there. But I would say, reach out to your local primary schools or your secondary schools. Gardening clubs, we used to run a garden because of the COVID scenario, but we used to run a gardening club for our local school as well. And the children would come along, they were given a plot behind the school at the allotment site, and it was the children really enjoyed themselves and learned so much. So I would say, explore your local potential and see what you can do to build up, that network of community links. That's the key. Okay.
Thanks, Grenville. Just wait to see if there's anyone else that wants to chip in. Oh, hi, Emily.
Hiya. Yeah, just to say that one of the funded projects from the Community Pollinator Fund is the Nature Connection Nature Connection Community Interest Company, and they're working in schools. So they might be able to share details on working with schools. They do a lot of forest school work. And yeah, I don't know if their website is fully up and running, but if you should be able to Google them.
Brilliant, thank you. Amazing. And then we've got a few questions about sort of management plans for green spaces and stuff along that line. So we've got one question from Pippa. Is there any practical advice available for creating a sustainable wildlife habitat on a hedge bank between two allotment sites in Horfield? We're trying to manage overgrown and invasive hedging, which is mainly blackthorn, to open up space for wildflower planting and other habitats like hedgehog houses and bird-friendly planting. We also need advice on stabilising the sides of the bank when we remove some of the blackthorn roots. So again, if anyone has kind of done that kind of work in an allotment before or has any advice, just while we wait as well, just to mention, Pippa, that I think she's had to leave now, but Esther is one of our new community ecologists who will be starting in March. And I think she's put her email in the chat. Yeah, Esther Frizzell Armitage. So if there's not anyone today that has some advice, then I'm pretty sure you should be able to email Esther and she might be able to help.
I put a comment there. Hi everyone, Tom and Mark. I put a comment there. I think it depends on the size really, but you could do something like it's called like a Cornice hedge or a Devon hedge bank. I think that I'm not sure if it's one of those things that's kind of basically the same thing, but it's basically just a mix of like earth and stone, and then topped with sort of trees. So kind of opportunity to do some more planting as at the same time as clearing and retaining the wall. The other thing they could possibly look at is doing things like sandbags, so hemp-based sandbags, so not the plastic kind, and then you sort of fill them with soil and seed, and that would do a similar thing. And over time, they will sort of rot down, but it does provide some sort of pretty long-term support. But as well as obviously, all the seed and everything will go up through the hemp, so that's an opportunity as well.
Thanks, Tom. The bank is actually, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
The bank is actually about 1.5 meters high. Well, it's not straight all the way along, but it slopes down, and about 3 meters deep. There is quite a bit of tree growth in it. The problem is to contain the tree growth, to reduce it in size. I've planted some hedging, native hedging plants. But I think the idea of the hemp sandbags is quite a good one. I don't know where we get that kind of thing, but we want to take out the some of the very assertive blackthorn growth, and then I'm just concerned that the bank's all going to slide down. So, yeah, it's a practical as well as an information problem.
Yeah, I think anything else. Well, I didn't say anything else, but a lot of the other solutions are going to be quite, expensive and sort of heavy duty, like, be it timber or stone or, like proper stonework or wall or brickwork. So yeah, I mean that you can pick up the sort of hemp sandbags quite fairly sort of affordable on sort of things like eBay. There are sort of plastic versions that are kind of longer lasting, but again, you're just kind of burying plastic in the ground, so it kind of so big view on that. But yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like a good option.
Okay, thanks. I'll get in touch with Esther too. Thank you.
Nice one. Yeah, as we've kind of already mentioned, we'll have our new Team Wilder community ecologists starting in March, which is really exciting. And as Julie has mentioned in the chat, they'll be starting an advisory service for communities. So we're really excited to be able to offer a bit more hands-on practical advice tailored to specific projects. So yeah, starting from March, Esther will be able to field a few more of those questions. So if there's anything that we can't answer today, then definitely hold on to those questions and get back in touch with us when Esther's around in her role. Can't see any other questions in the chat at the moment. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to raise or share?
Ty, I was just going to mention to everyone that if you would like advice with land management plans for a community, your community natural spaces, often your local authority is a good place to start. And so on the Bristol City Council website, they've got a really good page about getting in touch about parks and local wildlife sites. South Gloss Council have got a page called The Hive, and they'll provide lots of advice. They've got kind of booklets that take you through the process. And ultimately, if they own the land, they may already have land management plans, and it might be that they need to be updated. But it's always worth checking in with them first as well.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks, Alex. Also, just to mention that the next iteration of this event that we'll be hosting for spring will be discussing all things wildlife-friendly gardening. And that will be on Monday the 17th of April. So again, if there's something that we haven't covered today, then we might potentially cover that in the next session. But that will send out a reminder with the details of the next session in a follow-up email with all of the links and everything that's been discussed in the chat and in the talks today. So yeah, you'll get a link to the next campfire after today. I think we're pretty much done with questions, unless anyone's got anything last minute. Please do pop it in the chat while we've got Hemlarta and Granville with us. Sam has just shared that we've just got a grant from the Woodland Trust for 420 trees and they'll need some help planting them. Amazing. I can see you dancing in the corner. Do you want to share a little bit about the tree planting and what you need, Sam? That sounds really exciting.
There we go. I just finding the mute button. Yes, I got Dan here in the team as well. He knows a bit more about the grant application, so let him just scoot around and he'll tell you a bit more. We'll swap seats. So yeah, we run Got Greens Farm, which is a community interest company in Bristol, and part of that is we're trying to grow some food and get people into food growing. Also trying to increase biodiversity of the land that we've got. We've got about 7 acres. So as part of that, we want to do some tree planting and build a bit of an arboretum, kind of increase our hedgerows as well. So if you go on the Woodland Trust website, you can apply for different packs, and that's if you're part of schools or a community project. And as a community project, we put in a bid for the full amount of trees that you can do, which the maximum is 420 trees. So we put in that and got an email like a week later saying that we've been accepted and they'll get delivered in November. So really exciting. It's worth having a look. It was really quick, easy application process. And then, yeah, in time for the tree planting season in November, you can say whether you want something that you can forage from, work in woodland, wildlife, yeah, all different like mixes of trees and stuff you can get. So worth having a look. But like Sam put in the chat, we've got 420 trees to plant now. That's about the size of a football pitch as well, if you want to imagine how much space that's going to take up. So if you want to get into tree planting with us, sign up to the mailing list. It'll be really good to see some faces. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Dan and Sam. Thanks so much for sharing. That's really exciting. Well done on, congratulations on your successful application. Amazing. And then Julie's just popped in the chat just to finish. If anyone's looking to volunteer or recruit any volunteers, then please do add any projects to the Team Wilder community map, like Sophie mentioned. If you're looking for a community group to join in your local area, then you can also check out that map and see what existing projects you can link up with. And please do look at the resources on the Team Wilder website as well, if there's anything that you'd like advice on, whether that's wildlife friendly gardening or starting a group or getting a bank account sorted, then all that stuff is online. Please have a look and give us some feedback. Let us know what's important. If there's anything you'd like to see that's not on there already, then please let us know. And yeah, we can make sure we're keeping it up to date, adding things that people need and want to see. Also, if you want to be a case study, if you've got like an amazing project that you want to shout about and you think you've done something really cool and inspiring that you want to share with other people, then definitely big up yourself and get in touch with us, because we want to keep growing the Team Wilder website and sharing all the amazing things that local people are doing for nature and wildlife. I think we'll wrap there because we're 1 minute to 7 o'clock, so great timing, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for our first campfire. I can honestly say it's been a roaring success. It's been lovely to have you all join us, and can we all unmute ourselves and give a big round of applause to Hemlarta and Grenville to be our first speakers. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.